Welcome, everybody, to my Senior to Seniors podcast. And today is a podcast I've been looking forward to for several weeks. My guest, and I'll just tell you a little bit about her, is Tamar Hurwitz-Fleming. She was born on January 9th, 1966, and grew up experiencing happy birthdays, disappointing birthdays, and downright terrible birthdays until she turned 20 and realized making her birthday happy was entirely up to her. With each following year, Tamar started paying close attention to her energy as her birthday approached and how various factors, whether under her control or not, impacted her birthday experience. She noted those observations and put them to work in the following years so that each January 9th thereafter, she was able to successfully put herself at the center of her day and experience deep fulfillment. She wrote this book, and the book is titled How to Have a Happy Birthday and Receive the True Gifts Your Birthday Promises. She wrote the book to help people find deeper meaning and happiness on their birthdays too. Tamar is an artist, astrologer, and award-winning environmental educator who has worked internationally and presented to more than 350,000 people, inspiring and motivating them to make positive behavioral changes on behalf of the greater good. Interesting enough, she and her husband, Drew, live in San Francisco and enjoy spending time in Santa Fe and Barcelona, and I'm jealous, where she became a Spanish citizen thanks to a law that welcomed the return of Sephardic Jews whose ancestors were expelled during the Spanish Inquisition of 1492. She is a big fan of tiny dogs, and her favorite birthday cake is strawberry chantilly. Tamar, welcome to my podcast.
Thank you, Jim. It's a pleasure to be here.
Oh, it's so great having you. So before we get started, to tell the listeners something about one opinion of your book, I think it's really important. And there are many people who have wrote great things about your book. Because when you look at a book, you never know what's inside. And, I often go to the inside the cover where there's comments about your book, even the forward or the back of the book. Here's something that someone wrote about your book. Birthdays can be wonderful expressions of our unique time on earth, but are often fraught with disappointment and missed opportunities. This book is a soothing balm, and the guidance offered is tender and robust. Tamar uses personal anecdotes as well as teaching stories to illustrate her birthday wisdom, everything from the mundane to deeply powerful spiritual truth. She endows the reader with all that is needed to take charge of our birthdays and create the joy that is possible in them. If you've ever wished you had a happier birthday, this book is for you, wrote Alicia Elcourt, author of A Map of Every Undoing. And I've got to tell you, Tamar, that's exactly how I felt when I read your book. So first, tell us why you wrote the book. How did you approach this, and why did you write the book?
Well, actually, something did happen about 15, 20 years ago that was the genesis for the idea of this book. A friend of mine, we were, you know, new friends. I knew his birthday was coming up, and I said, "Hey, what are you going to do for your birthday?" And he said, "I don't like my birthday." I thought, okay, well, maybe he's like many others who don't like their birthday because people don't make enough of a big deal. They don't remember, they don't put the energy out. So when his birthday came, I brought him a big, beautiful box of donuts and I said, "Happy birthday." And you know what happened? He got really mad at me. He hit his hand on the table and he said, "I told you, I don't like my birthdays."
Hmm.
And that's when I'm like, oh, wow, he means it. He's serious. There's some deep stuff here. There's
Yeah.
some real issues here. And I walked away with the donuts in hand and my mind started churning. And I thought, I've had hard birthdays. I know other
Hmm.
people have had hard birthdays, but this is something that's really touching an emotional chord within him. And so what could that be? And so I started thinking about it. And I realized that a lot of our birthday avoidance comes
Mhm.
from childhood experiences. You know, we all know that we're special on our birthday. Society tells us that. We see our siblings and our friends being celebrated on their birthday. So when our day comes, we know we're special. And yet, when we get met with reactions from our family or people around us that are less than celebratory, less than ideal, our expectations don't get met. Sometimes people forget. Or
Mhm.
maybe we got yelled at earlier in the day and our energy shrinks. We realize, like, wait, is this really a happy day? Is this a good day? Next year, I'm not going to get my hopes up so high. I'm going to start to shrink in my expectations for my birthday as a way to protect my sensitive emotional nature. So I think a lot of our birthday stuff comes from early on. And once it gets rooted in our brain and in our heart, and in our soul that we're really not that special, birthdays don't matter, we want to do everything we can to avoid them. And I don't think
Sure.
that's right. I think all of us deserve to be celebrated on our birthday. We deserve to put ourselves in the center of our life one day a year, just one
Yes.
day a year. Let's do it. And
Yeah.
everybody lets us have it because we all get the same thing, right? We all
Hmm.
get one 24-hour period to celebrate ourselves. So when it comes to be January 9th, it's time for me to celebrate myself. And I've learned
Right.
how to do that so that I can be deeply fulfilled and feel nourished on a very deep level.
And not only have you taught yourself, you've taught other people, right?
Yeah.
You're teaching other people with
Yeah.
how to realize it. So, what kind of bad experiences might you have had in childhood or otherwise with your
I
birthday?
I had bad experiences. And it's funny, you know, as I started thinking about the book and thinking about my own birthday experiences, my earliest birthday experience was when I was 3 years old. You know, I remember the taste of the cake. I also remember when I was five being really upset. I'd gotten yelled at earlier in the day, and whether it was fair or not, I don't remember. But by the time
Hmm.
the evening came and they're bringing me cake and singing to me and everyone's smiling at me, I was still smarting from what had happened just a few hours earlier. And I'm like, wait, I'm not ready for this. And now I'm supposed to perform and be happy for you. There's actually a picture of my dad. You know, I'm in front of my cake and he's trying to put a smile on my face, right? Because you're supposed to be happy on your birthday. But if you're not feeling that way, it's a
Hmm.
very confusing experience.
Yeah.
Like, wait, I'm supposed to be happy. I'm a child, but I'm not. And I'm supposed to perform for you, right? So that was an experience. The worst for me was when I turned 18. And I write about this right off the bat in my book. 18 is a milestone birthday. You officially become an adult. And I was the baby of the family of four kids. And it was my first year in college. And I didn't have any birthday plans except to wait for the phone to ring and to take all the calls that were going to come from my family to wish me a happy birthday. I was really excited to hear from them. And I'd run back to my dorm room. This is way before cell phones. I'd run
Yeah.
back to
Yeah.
my dorm room and the calls never came. And by the end of the night, I couldn't believe it. My entire family forgot my birthday. It was devastating. And unfortunately, it also reinforced some ideas I had about myself that I wasn't that lovable, I wasn't that important.
Mhm.
And it was not good for me to have that happen. I'm actually glad it happened in retrospect because it helped create a lot of the understanding of what I put into the book eventually, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
But 2 years later, another momentous birthday happened. I was turning 20. It's another milestone. I was spending my junior year abroad in France. I was on my own with, you know, whatever.
Hmm.
And when I
Hmm.
woke up, I still didn't have birthday plans, but I knew no one was around to do it for me. So I said, you know what? Today's my day. I'm going to take the day off class. I'm going to walk through town. I'm going to buy myself a bottle of fancy French perfume that I've always wanted that I could not afford on my student budget, but I did it anyway. Had friends over for cake later, and I had a great birthday. And that was the first time I realized, oh, I get it. My birthday is mine to create. I'm not supposed to outsource this to others. I'm not supposed to wait passively for the phone to ring. I'm supposed to take charge of my day, do what I want, make it my own, and enjoy it. And that's what I've been doing ever since.
I'll be darned. In my real estate business, one thing that I've noticed, and even in life, is that people spend more time planning their vacations than they do planning their own lives, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And even celebrating things like New Year's Eve, which is important. But gosh, don't you think that, well, you do think that your birthday is a special day that goes maybe beyond even the New Year's Eve or anything else? But I don't think any of us have actually been taught
Mm-mm.
what to do on our birthday. And
Yeah,
maybe it should be taught
yeah.
to everybody. And your book gets to that point. So as I believe I told you, Tamara, is that part of this podcast is in honor of my sister who passed just a year ago on September 1st. And her birthday is August 3rd. And so this year, I'm going to celebrate her birthday in a different way than I ever have before, whether she's here or not here. But, what I've done before is sent her a card, picked up the phone, called her. We were apart probably 1,500 miles. And this year, what I'm going to do is gift your book to 10 people in
Oh,
my life who I think can and will benefit from reading your book. And I'm going to do so in her honor. And this podcast will actually drop on her birthday. We'll go to Spotify and Apple and YouTube and iHeart, appropriately iHeart, on August 3rd. And so if you're watching this on the day that it's dropped, I'm doing this in loving memory of my sister Joanne, and her birthday has always been special, but it's going to be more special this year. Uh,
can I just say something, Jim? I'm really touched.
sure,
I'm really
sure,
touched that you'll be doing this in honor of your sister. And it sounds like this is going to be the first birthday where she's not here,
that's right.
right? So
Yes.
it's really going to be very powerful for you because
Mhm.
I always say it takes a year after somebody dies to go through all the holidays and birthdays when they're not here for the first time.
Right.
And, birthdays are spiritual. They are the most spiritual day of the year. They are a spiritual portal, not just for ourselves, but for also the loved ones that have passed on. And so your sister's energy will be extra bright on her birthday, I promise you. And when you
Yes.
tune into it and you feel it, you will feel her spirit extra shiny and sparkly on her birthday because
Yeah.
that's what birthdays do for us. They allow us to access spirit, whether it's our own or those of others that we love. And so I'm touched that you're making effort to honor your sister as a result of being inspired by what you read in my book, but also that you will feel a heightened her presence being extra heightened on her birthday, not just this year, but in every other year to come.
And I think, what will accompany your book to the people that I gift your book to will be a little bit of her story and a
Mm.
little bit of how I'm celebrating this because there's no reason other people can't celebrate in the same way. Most of my business in my real estate business is working with seniors. And many seniors I work with have a spouse that has passed as well. And I thought this could be something even for them, something that might benefit them. Because surely when the birthday comes up, it's going to be surrounded with sadness,
Yeah.
and melancholy. This will help, I think, put a different charge into it. So I can't wait until I do that on August 3rd. So tell me about cultural differences that you're aware of with birthdays. How do the differences in cultures impact the way people the way they celebrate birthdays?
It's a great question. And one of the decisions I made when I started writing this book, I started looking into the history of birthdays and the cultural variances. And I realized, you know what? This is actually a self-help book versus a review of the birthday traditions over history and various places. And so I
Yeah,
actually don't have
yeah.
that information. I can't speak to the way different cultures celebrate. I do know that in Germany and in France that people will often bring their own birthday cake to work, let's say, instead of waiting for it to be given to them. They'll show up. Today's my birthday and I'm bringing cake for everybody. I actually really like that idea. I remember when I was a manager of a team of 6 and we celebrate birthdays, I was bringing in cake 6 times a year for my staff happily.
Uh-huh.
But
Uh-huh.
there's something that's really nice about just bringing it in one day a year for yourself. Like, I actually really like that idea. That's not what we do here in the United States. But when I heard that that's what they did in France, that's what they did in Germany, I was really intrigued by that. So, there's also different cultures within a family, not just within
Sure.
countries, but different families have different cultures around how they celebrate birthdays. What you
Yeah.
said earlier, though, really touched me when you said that we're not taught how to celebrate birthdays. If
Hmm.
our parents do a big job celebrating our birthday and going all out, and a lot of parents do that, by the time we become an adult and go into the world by ourselves, they didn't send us with an instruction manual on how to celebrate ourselves. And so a lot of us end up thinking, well, that's just the realm of childhood. I can't expect
Yes.
my parents to celebrate me all the time forever. That's just what they did when I was a kid. So my birthday from here on out is just another day. I mean, one of the anecdotes in my book talks about that. I'd spoken with a person who'd had that very experience, didn't
Hmm.
enjoy their birthdays because their mother did everything for them until they
Yeah.
realized,
Yeah.
no, it's time for me to take the baton myself and celebrate
Hmm.
myself intentionally. Something else you said earlier about celebrating New Year's Eve and planning for that. Your birthday is a major holiday. And it
Hmm.
does need to be planned for as if it's a major holiday, which means we want to start at least a month in advance to start thinking about what you want to do so that you can be successful in your plans. Just like you don't wake up on Thanksgiving and say, okay, what's for dinner and who's coming? It's the same thing
Hmm.
with your birthday. You really want to plan in advance so that you can guarantee as much success as possible to get what you want.
Do you think we don't because we think it's self-serving and we're selfish by doing that?
Yeah, it's funny. There's a real narrative in this culture that says anytime we put ourselves into the center of our lives, we're being selfish. I
Hmm.
learned a long time ago that being selfish, being self-referential, self-determining is actually a good thing. Because if I'm not taking care of myself, am I expecting others to do that for me? Am I expecting my husband to read my mind to take care of me? Or is it better for me to communicate what I want to get what I want? So being selfish, right, putting yourself in the center of your life is actually essential for living a fulfilling life. Otherwise, we're all being passive and then we're getting angry because people aren't reading our mind. They're not doing what they want. We think they're being selfish. How about if we just take care of ourselves? How about if I just take care of me, you take care of you, and then we communicate around that, right? I'm not going to look at you and say, oh, you're being so selfish because you're putting yourself in the center of your birthday and you're asking me to come to a potluck and bring a cake. That's not being selfish. That's beautiful. That means Jim's speaking up for what he wants. And I'm so happy I get to show up and celebrate him. And he's helping me succeed in doing that. I want to celebrate Jim. I want to bring a cake. What I need to do is find out what cake flavors he loves and what cake flavors he doesn't love, and let me then do the rest, right? So I
Yeah.
think,
Yeah.
on the contrary, we need to rethink this idea of being selfish. And really, your birthday, and I do want to say a lot of us are people pleasers. And so
Hmm.
people who are people pleasers are going to feel extra sensitive to feeling selfish on
Yeah.
their birthday. They're not going to be
Yeah.
comfortable with that. I'm actually going to encourage all the people pleasers out there to challenge yourself so that when your birthday comes, you give yourself permission to put up the boundaries, stop pleasing others just for one day, and please yourself. A lot of us don't even know how to please ourselves when we're so concerned about pleasing others. We don't even know where to begin. And a birthday gives us a wonderful launching pad to figure that out. And that's a healthy thing to do.
Sure. Sure. One of the things that I find uncomfortable on my birthday is when the birthday song is sung. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I
I
do.
don't know that you talk about it in your book, but I've thought about it. And how do you think people should respond? Because I think it's just what you talked about, that people, gosh, I don't want to bring all kinds of uh, things onto me that I'm self-centered and I'm selfish and it's all about me. But uh, what do you think somebody should do or we should do when that's being sung to us? Do you have any thoughts on
Yeah,
that?
I do actually. That's a big question. I know some people that hate it so much they don't want it done, and that's
Yeah,
great. Make
sure.
make make your own choice for yourself. However, what I will say, based on my own experience, I was at work and I turned 50. I don't work on my birthdays, but that day I think I came in for something quick, and then 50 people surprised me with cake
Yeah.
in the lobby, and I started weeping. I started weeping when they were singing to me because I felt the
Hmm.
love coming towards me. I
Hmm.
felt the love of people taking the time out of their day to sing to me. All the attention was on me. And yeah, it was uncomfortable because it was vulnerable. It was
Yeah.
emotionally vulnerable, and I just let it out. Even last year, just no big birthday. I just went out for breakfast with my sister, and it was my birthday, and then the wait staff came and sang to me. I started crying again. I mean, they
Yeah.
do this all the time. They don't know me, but it didn't matter. I was looking at them and I was receiving their love. I believed in that moment they were giving me love by showing up and singing to me. And in that moment, those strangers, they were doing that for me. That's how I
Yes.
chose to receive it. And again, I started crying out of the vulnerability of feeling loved. And a
Yes.
birthday allows us that one day a year to receive love from people, even if they're strangers. You tell a stranger it's your birthday, like at the coffee shop, oh, happy birthday. They're going to light up for you because we all get a birthday. We all understand that it's our day, our one day a year to be special.
Yeah,
And
we
people are happy for us.
yeah, we all know it's special and
Yeah.
it's just one day a year that
Yeah.
that we get. So
Yeah.
how do you suggest individuals tailor their birthday celebrations? What do you have in mind? What do you suggest?
Well, let's start with the birthday song. If you know that you absolutely can't stand having people sing to you. Now, what I just said might open your mind to say, oh, I don't like it because I'm feeling vulnerable and emotional. Maybe you ought to let yourself cry the next time people are singing happy. It's very healing. Whether you
Hmm.
choose to or not is your choice, but like allow for the possibility that maybe it's a really beautiful moment of vulnerability that can nurture you on a deep level. So there's that option. Or you just say, hey, folks, we're all going out to dinner. I love it that we're going to have birthday cake. Please let the waiter know I don't want to be sung to. You can draw that boundary for yourself. You can
Yeah.
have the cake come with a candle. You can still make your wish, but you don't need the song, right? So you can
Hmm.
choose that. And my whole point about this book, it's about empowerment. It's asking yourself what you want to do for your birthday that would bring delight and meaning to you so that you can have a fulfilling day. And it will take practice. I know a woman who read my book 3 birthdays ago, right before her birthday 3 years ago or two,
Yeah.
whatever. And she decided she didn't like her birthday at all. She decided that year she was going to buy a special cake. So that was what she did. And then the next year she decided, you know what? Now I'm going to have some family over to, come and celebrate. And then this year, when I wished her a happy birthday, she said, you know what? I finally realized that my birthday is special. And so it took her a period of time to experiment having an open appreciation and presence with her birthday to realize that it was a special day and that it helped her practice how to plan for it in the years ahead. And that's really what it's about. It's about planning. Again, think about it at least a month in advance. What do you want to do? If you want to go have a wonderful meal at a fancy restaurant that just opened up in town, make that reservation well enough in advance so that you can actually have that dinner on your
Sure.
birthday, right? You want to have a spa day? Make that reservation in advance. You want to have lunch with friends? Make sure they're available for you. Plan in advance so they can say yes and
Mm.
join you. So this is where planning comes into being. And I'm a planner for my birthday. A couple years ago, I wanted my special cake, and I barely had enough. I didn't think about ordering it in advance. I thought, oh, I can just order it the day before. No, you need 3 days to order your cake. I
Sure.
barely got it in the nick of time, and my husband was picking it up, in the afternoon of my birthday. But like even that, right? You want a special cake? Make sure you order it in advance. So
Yeah.
those are just simple things we can do that can have big impact on having a happy birthday.
Okay. So here's something I didn't ever think about before reading your book, and it's the role that gratitude plays in having a happy birthday. Um, so talk a little bit about that, if you will.
Yeah, so one of the birthday rituals I do every year now is on birthday Eve. I just want to say birthday Eve is a thing. You think
Okay.
of Christmas Eve. Christmas Eve is
Hmm.
a thing. Well, so is birthday Eve. I find a space in my home and I put up a happy birthday banner, pictures of myself from childhood, pictures of my parents who are no longer alive, flowers, crystals, whatever. I create a little birthday altar. I light the candles.
Mm.
And it's like a light switch on the birthday spirit, doing that on birthday Eve. And then on birthday morning, when I wake up, the first thing that I do is I have a spiritual moment with myself. I learned in the past that when I didn't have a spiritual connection to myself to start my day and my day just took off, like, where am I? I felt like I was missing, like I'd missed the bus because I didn't tune into myself first. Birthdays can be very external. People are calling you and sending you
Yeah.
messages and you're going out. So in the morning, I go in front of my birthday altar, and then I actually offer gratitude to the forces in the universe, right? To God, whatever that brought me into this form, but also to myself. Gratitude for the life I'm living, gratitude for the person that I have become. And when we offer gratitude for what's in our life and even who we are, it opens the heart, it heals us, and it really brings us into a good headspace and a good heart space so that we can be really present for the energy that's to come on our birthday. And even though I say plan for your birthday, I can tell you plan as much as you want, and your birthday's still going to have its own unique quality to it that you couldn't plan for. And that's part of the fun of the birthday. That's part of the birthday magic that kicks
Sure.
in. Turn on the
Sure.
radio and watch what happens. Listen to the songs that come through just for you on your birthday. It's amazing what can happen.
Yeah. Well, as you know, I sent you something, a few days ago,
Yes,
and it
yes, I
was,
love that.
after reading your book, and it really has to do with gratitude and a little bit more than that. Because in my business, an exercise that I've always done with the agents that have worked for me is um, trying to inspire them to write affirmations every day. 10 affirmations a day. As a matter of fact, our franchise company, and I'm part of a company called Exit, EXIT, Exit Realty. It's so important to the founders of the company that they created an app that helps you write affirmations every day. It's called prompter.ca, if anybody, and it's open to everybody, just not realtors, because the founder feels it's so important to put in your put in your mind affirmations and the positive thoughts. So I do three things, and I was inspired to do this years ago for my agents by a realtor teacher by the name of Tom Ferry. And he suggested writing affirmations, 10 affirmations a day, 10 gratitudes a day. And I added 10 intentions a day. Now, that's a pretty big exercise to do
Yeah.
every day. It takes a little while. You have to plan 30 minutes to do it. But why not do, if you don't do it every day, do something like this on your birthday? Write down 10 gratitudes that you have, why you're happy for this day. Write down 10 affirmations. For instance, this is going to be the best birthday I've ever celebrated. Today is going to be a day where I laugh and I sing and I enjoy the day. Positive affirmations, and then intentions. So I have a background here. And by the way, for everybody watching, the background happens to be your book. So when you go to the bookstore, you're not going to have any trouble finding Tamar's book. There you go. That's
Here
even
it is.
better. That's even
Right
better.
here. Yeah.
So that's what the book looks like, and you'll be able to find it. But I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but I'll get in front of it.
Yeah.
This is my list, and I have 10 affirmations that I wrote. I have 10 gratitudes and 10 intentions. So when you do the second edition of your book, I think this should be something that you put in the book, and
I
a
think
great
that's a great
exercise.
idea. That's a
You know,
great idea.
and I think it can help people to really focus on the day in such a positive way. So you mentioned your birthday altar,
Yeah.
and I have a birthday mantle since
Same thing.
it's same deal, same deal. You
Different
know,
word.
yeah, it's just a different word, and it's a place where I put things that relate to my birthday, maybe even past pictures and things that remind me of the happiness of the day. On August 3rd, I'll have things on my sister for her birthday. But talk about the birthday altar and what it is, whether it's an altar or a mantle or a table. Talk about
Yeah.
that.
Well, I'm actually want to hear from you. How long have you been creating a birthday mantle?
I am just now doing it
Okay.
since
Since
July
reading
19th, which
Okay,
was my
since reading,
birthday.
okay, because I do talk about that in the book. And it's just like we decorate for holidays,
Uh-huh.
let's decorate for our birthday. And I remember a friend reached out to me and she said, Tamar, I read your book. I have a really hard time with my birthdays. Can I have a phone call with you about my birthday? I said,
Uh-huh.
yes. I go, but before we get on the phone, I want you to do one thing. I want you to go down to the party shop and buy yourself a happy birthday banner, and I want you to put it up.
Hmm.
And she did. And then she texted me. She said, hi, we don't need to do our call anymore. I'm like, why? She goes, as soon as I put up that banner, it was like putting a light switch on. And I felt like something was wishing me a happy birthday. And I suddenly felt seen, I felt celebrated, and I felt present for the
Mm-hmm.
celebration. And it was such a beautiful affirmation of what happens when we put out some effort to celebrate ourselves by decorating our home with the happy birthday banner, a birthday mantle, a birthday altar, which is really just a space in your home of prominence that you've cleared off, that you
Hmm.
then decorate, right? Bring in those photos, bring in the mementos, bring in things that represent what you want to manifest for the coming year. Because our birthday is our own personal new year. And so when we think about the life we're living, a birthday is a great opportunity to take stock of our life and say, am I happy? Am I
Uh-huh.
fulfilled? Am I living the life I can be living and want to be living? And if so, hooray. And if not, what can I do in the coming year? What kind of changes are under my control that I can make to be more in alignment with the life I want to be living? And a birthday gives you that opportunity. And I'm talking about just the coming year. We're not talking about a 5-year plan or a 10-year plan. We're
Okay.
talking about
Okay.
your birth, your year, right? It's your own
Hmm.
personal new year. So Jim, what do you want to have accomplished by the time next July 19th rolls around? Those are some
Hmm.
questions that you can ask yourself as your birthday comes. Like, am I fulfilled? Am I living the life I want to be living? And we know that as we get older, life changes and things change and our priorities change. That's appropriate. So let's
Hmm.
take stock of ourselves every year. But the birthday mantle, the birthday altar is a wonderful way to decorate our home, to celebrate ourselves. And it's amazing how affirmative and celebratory it can be when we put the energy into it and then it reflects back at us.
Yeah, my daughter has a Christmas tree that is up all year long. And it's very narrow. It's not a big flourishing, tree, but it's very narrow. But she decorates it for the seasons, for special holidays. And it's perfectly wonderful to walk into her house because if it's Halloween time, that tree is decorated, and whatever the holiday might be, if it's the Fourth of July, she celebrates that.
Yeah.
And I'm going to suggest to her that her birthday altar that might be decorating her tree with mementos of her birthday, and maybe even with plans for the next year, right? So on New Year's Eve, we all write down our plans, what we want to accomplish in the next year, lose 50 pounds, whatever it is.
Yeah.
I think most people give up after 30 days or something, right?
Yeah.
But something like having the birthday altar, leaving the birthday altar up, or having the tree, and then maybe even putting things on that tree that might be your goals for the
Yeah.
coming year, might
Yeah.
even be something.
And I
Um,
just want to say something about that because for me, when I think about what I want to do in the coming year on my birthday, even though my birthday is January 9th, which is very close to the new year, I'm a New
yeah,
Year's baby essentially.
yeah,
I feel like New Year's is like, yes, I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to start doing my yoga. And that's very nice, but it's very pragmatic. But birthdays are really about our own spiritual presence on the physical plane. Like, who am I? Who am I here to be? What do I want my life to be like? And so rather than being so resolution like I'm going to go to the gym, what about I really want to be more creative? That will help bring me more joy this year. I really want to have more harmonious relationships. And so, what can I do to combat my sarcasm or my negativity? What can I do and knowing that that will help transform my relationships? Stuff like that. I'm talking about sort of the bigger stuff that isn't about having to go somewhere and do something. It's really about the changes within that we can
yes.
manifest that I'm thinking is quite special about thinking about your birthday and how you want to create and what you want to create in the coming year, as well as things like I'd like to become a homeowner this year. So, what can
Hmm.
I do to make that happen? For sure, you can do that. Do whatever you want on your birthday as you think about the coming year to have the life you want. But I want to encourage people to treat their birthday as a spiritual holiday because it is. It is the most spiritual day of your year. Your birthday is the most spiritual day of your year because it's the day your life began. I can think of nothing more spiritual than that.
Yeah. So are you hearing this, everybody? I mean, um, you have so much to say. I love the way you say it. So tell me, something I didn't know until I got the book was that you actually have a workbook that goes along with this, right? Um,
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about the workbook and what's inside of it and why it's important to be, uh, uh, part of your book.
So the book is a self-help book, as we've already established. This is a deep dive into why birthdays matter, ways we sabotage our birthdays. That's chapter 2 right off the bat, the birthday blues and ways we, keep our
Yeah.
birthday joy far away from us, and then what we can do to prepare for and plan for the day. After reading the book, there's a list of questions in the back of the book and also in a separate workbook that has been
Mhm.
published that's like a journal that you can answer the questions right in the book.
Yeah, because a lot of
That
people don't like writing in books. So,
no, I understand. The
okay.
questions are in the back of the book. You
Yes.
don't have to buy the workbook separately, but if you do, you can actually write within the workbook like it's a notebook journal, which it is.
Mhm.
And the questions want you to dive deeper. Okay, you don't like your birthday. Why? What happened? Can you name one birthday experience that was not happy for you and how that might have impacted your birthdays, your thoughts about birthdays today? So we want you to start looking deeper to uncover within yourself why you don't like your birthdays. And then we want you to actually think about, okay, so if these things happened, what can you tell yourself now that's different? Rather than playing the old tapes like, oh, I'm worthless, they forgot my birthday, I'm not important. How can we give those originating ideas back to the source? They didn't originate within us. They came from outside of us. We just took them on. How can we give them back and tell ourselves another narrative? How can we tell ourselves another belief system so that we actually realize I do deserve having a happy birthday and I can make that happen for myself. So there's a real sort of dive deep in the first part of the workbook.
Hmm.
Then once we sort of get that, we talk about aging, right? Your podcast is so much about aging.
Hmm.
And, society has a lot of negative messaging around aging. There's a
Yeah.
lot of ageism. We know that we start to feel invisible. We don't feel as powerful. We don't feel as valid. And you know what? I don't buy that. I realized a long time ago, nobody gets to define my worth, especially not based on my age. That's for me to determine. And so there's a lot of questions there, even about aging, which are valid. One of the questions I love is, what do I think I've lost now that I've aged?
Mm.
And what have I lost? Because we do lose stuff as we age. But then there's a follow-up question. What have I gained
Yeah.
by being older, right? Let's just call it all out so that we can have a healthier relationship with our aging process. And then as we move on the workbook, it's like, okay, so now what are your three favorite restaurants? What's your three favorite cake flavors? Who do you love that you never get to see? What kind of road trips could you take within a 2 hour distance? And it's a way to get you to start making ideas of what you might want to do to celebrate your birthday.
Yeah.
Like go have lunch with that person you love that you never see. There's a lot of people in our life that we love that we don't make plans with. I don't understand how that works, but it does. I know you know people in your life that you really like, but you
Yeah.
don't connect with them a lot. Well, maybe on your birthday you do, right? So the
Hmm.
workbook helps you then start to figure out what are some ideas that I could generate around activities that I could do on my birthday to make me feel happy. And then we finish off by talking about the wish and your birthday wish and how to craft a good birthday wish.
Yeah. Well, I've got to get the workbook because I did not, because I didn't have enough time to do all that and didn't plan accordingly. What I love in your book is you talk about how to celebrate on your birthday, how to celebrate family,
Yeah.
how to celebrate silence, so important, how to celebrate in prayer, how to celebrate, of course, with gratitude, how to prepare for joy. And that's why the book is so deep. It just doesn't talk about, oh, have a happy birthday and, turn on a special radio station that has birthday. It's very deep in thought. And one of the things that you talked about were 9 ways that people sabotage their birthdays. Do you know that off the top of your head, those ways?
Yeah, yeah, I do. And, as I said, chapter 2 is called The Birthday Blues, and it
Okay.
really addresses the fact, I believe that there's a continuum. We're either birthday positive or birthday avoidant or somewhere in between.
Uh-huh.
And I believe if you were to draw a line right down the middle, half of us are on one side, half of us are on the other.
Yeah.
That's just what I believe based on what I've observed. And so the birthday blues are a thing. I've felt them. It's this anxiety that starts to creep up before our birthday arrives. It's the depression that can start to manifest before our birthday arrives because if we're not into our birthdays, we feel the pressure building. It's like a wave of energy that's coming to us and we don't want to deal with it and we feel like we're going to be clobbered. We can't wait till it leaves.
Yeah.
So one of the ways that we sabotage our birthday joy is we just don't, we ignore our birthdays. When you ignore your birthday, I'm going to tell you right now, you can't have birthday joy, right? You have to acknowledge that you're having a birthday and embrace your birthday. The second thing we do is that we don't plan for our birthday, right? You don't wake up on your birthday and start to ask your friends to go out for drinks or dinner because they're not going to be available 9 out of 10 times.
Yeah.
And then once again, see, nobody cares about me. See, my birthdays aren't happy. You're subconsciously recreating your negative belief systems by not planning for your birthday. You've got to plan for success to have a happy birthday. Other ways that we sabotage our birthday, and this is a subtle one,
Okay.
is we actually start to feel this anxiety building in the days coming up to our birthday that we start to pick fights with the people
Hmm.
closest to us.
Okay.
Like instead of just letting it go, like, no, no, you shouldn't have said that. And here's why. And blah, blah. And the next thing you know, you've got a big fight that you created essentially by picking at it. And now, of course, I'm not going to have a happy birthday because now I'm upset and we just got in a fight. So that brings your energy down. When you get in a fight or get in a heavy conversation, it brings your energy down, especially the day before your birthday. So
Yeah.
as your birthday nears, especially the day before, protect your energy. I don't know if it was this year or I think it might have been this year. January, I'm a January baby, and come January 1, it's time to start looking at your taxes. And so my husband, the day before my birthday, is like, "Hey, we should talk about the taxes." And it's not a big deal conversation, but I was already starting to feel the birthday spirit coming on the day before my birthday. And I said,
Sure.
and normally I would have been like, "Okay, right?" But it was like, "Wait, time out. Can we shelve this for a few days? My birthday's coming up. I don't want to think about taxes."
Hmm.
He said, "Absolutely." But it took my self-awareness to realize that talking about taxes was going to be like mundane. I'm
Right.
starting to feel sacred. Let's make this a special time as the birthday spirit arrives. And birthdays are sort of like 3 days long: the day before, the day of, and then the day after, when we integrate what happened the day before. And it's sort of like the glitter settling in the bottom of a snow globe. You
Hmm.
shake it, and
Hmm.
then the day after your birthday, it all just sort of settles, and you think about your day, and you integrate it, and that's lovely. And then by the end of the third day, the birthday spirit flies away, and it's really something that when you start to tune into, you can actually feel.
Yeah.
So another way that we sabotage our birthdays, and this is very subconscious, and I say this with respect, but we can actually make ourselves sick. I've done that to myself, where there was a lot of pressure around a certain birthday and I ended up making myself sick. I didn't make myself sick per se and consciously, but I was stressed out. My immune system was weakened and I magically got sick just in time.
Your subconscious
Subconscious,
thinking.
yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, we're pretty powerful when we talk about our subconscious. And, and the other way that our birthdays can be sabotaged doesn't have to do with us, but it has to do with our partners.
Okay.
They may not want to celebrate us. I've heard too many stories and they actually break my heart. I heard one woman say, all I ever want is for my husband to get me a birthday cake. And he wouldn't do it. And I'm like, whoa, something's up in your relationship. If
Yeah.
all you want is for your husband to give you a birthday cake and he's not willing to do it, he's sabotaging your birthday joy. There must be some resentment there that he's trying to get back at you,
Mm.
right, on your birthday because he can. And if that's happening, folks, it's time to look at the relationship. If your
Mm.
partner's not willing to celebrate you and they think, oh, they just don't care about birthdays, but if a birthday matters to you, they should care about your birthday, that it matters to you, even if they don't care about their birthdays. They should still honor your request for your birthday because you're asking for it. And why not honor our beloveds one day a year on their birthday so that other people can sabotage our birthday joy as well?
No, absolutely. So, as we start to conclude our conversation, I always ask my guest, there must be one question that I didn't ask that you wish that I would have asked, or something that's really important that I might have missed. Is there anything you can think of, Tamar?
Sure. You can ask me, hey, Tamar, have you ever thought of becoming a birthday coach?
Okay. Have you
Go
ever
ahead.
thought of becoming a birthday coach?
As a matter of fact, Jim, I have, and I'm just starting to hang my shingle to do that. And what I'm proposing is to have two meetings with people, 1 month before your birthday, where we get on the phone for an hour and we talk about your birthday experiences. And you're going to fill out a questionnaire before that phone call, so I get some background on you first. We're
Uh-huh.
going to have a conversation about what your birthday issues might be, talk about what some things you might want to plan for your birthday to bring you joy. And then a week after your birthday, we're going to get back on the phone and find out how it went and what lessons we learned so that you can put into practice for the coming year. And that's it. It's just a 2 call situation. And if you go to my website, How to Have a Happy Birthday, you can find out about that. You can contact me. You can find out where to get my books. I have an ebook, I have an audio book, I've got all that stuff wherever books are sold. But yeah, so I am now becoming a birthday coach.
I love that. I mean, we have life coaches, for our life. Why not have, a coach for if you don't have a life coach that addresses your birthday, which I would guess most life coaches don't. I know that I haven't ever addressed that when I've coached the real estate agents that I've worked with. I don't know why. I never had the awareness that I now have, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it
And
hasn't occurred to people. We don't think about, birthdays are for cakes and balloons and that's it. Birthdays are so much deeper and more meaningful than that. And that's the point I'm trying to make. And by being a birthday coach, I want to help people enhance their birthday experience so that they can feel fulfilled and special on their birthday. Because I believe that when we actually have a happy and fulfilling birthday from the inside, that it makes us kinder people and it makes us softer people. And when we become kinder and softer, just even one day a year, it actually helps make the world a better place. It's a healing thing to have a happy birthday.
this has been such a pleasant conversation, I've got to tell you. And not all of my conversations on my podcast have happy endings like this, right? We just don't. We're talking about senior issues that can be, very troubling, very difficult, very hard. But this gives us all a chance to just fall back, reflect, and enjoy a special day that we all deserve. It's our day. It's our birthday. For me, my mother, I'm 71 years old, and when my mother was pregnant with me, going way back, the doctor told her, I don't think that your baby, they didn't know if it was a boy or a girl at that time, uh, is going to survive. And her doctor told her, I suggest that you abort this baby. And this was really before abortions. And his suggestion to her was, lift too much, do things that you think will actually rid yourself of this baby that will be born either stillborn or very damaged in some way. She actually talked to a nun, and the nun said, don't listen to that.
Oh,
Don't listen to that. And I think it's important for you to have this baby. And she did have that baby. So my birthday is even more special.
it's a miracle. You're a miracle.
Yeah, yeah, because she
You're a
made
miracle. Yeah, and you are worth celebrating. And we're all miracles. The fact that we're here
yeah,
at all is a miracle. And you said something, and there is a question you didn't ask that I do want to answer. And it's the last chapter of my book.
yeah.
And it's about celebrating when you have a serious illness.
Hmm.
We know a lot of us as we get older, we have illnesses. Some of us are terminal. We know we may not make it to the next birthday, or we just have one more birthday. That's a very poignant time when you know that your time is coming to an end and you have a birthday coming up. And in that situation, my advice is to obviously do whatever you want or what you don't want, right? And if people want to put like, well, we need to do, you really get to draw your boundaries around what works for you. But I do invite anybody in that situation. First off, I send you my blessings. It's a tough situation to be in, but we're all going to get there. It's just some of us are going to know about it and some of us aren't,
Yeah.
right? When our death
Hmm.
comes.
Hmm.
But as our death impends, as it comes, we appreciate our life so much more. We realize that all that really matters in life is love. And people that have been so close to their death, they all say that. And I
Yes.
know that that's true. And so the birthday can be a wonderful way to open the heart and to receive the love and to give the love that's there for you all the time, but especially as your life is coming to a close. And so use it as you wish, but understand that it's a very powerful day for you. And I just hope that it is transformative in the way that the love can really flow.
I'm so glad you mentioned that. And that is something that I should have asked. And thank you for covering that. I appreciate it. So, listeners of my podcast, you have three things I want you to do. First of all, go out and buy the book. And if the bookstore doesn't have it, order it.
Yeah.
It's available on Amazon and all the places that you get books. Okay. Get the book. Then get the workbook, because I think it's really important for you to plan accordingly and to be intentional with what Tamara has talked about to do this. The third thing is, if you're so inclined, and if you think that my 10, 10, 10 for my birthday might help you, where you write down 10 affirmations, gratitudes, and intentions, hit me up. Let me know, and I'll be happy to send you mine. They're all written out. I have excuse me, I'll celebrate it and I'll send it to you, and you'll have a happier birthday. So, Tamara, thank you so much for being with me. I've
Thanks,
loved this
Jim.
time together, and I hope to talk to you again.
Thank you. This was a real pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.